All right. Good evening or morning, depending where you are in this world right now. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me see if I can get Facebook in here. Maybe. Hopefully I clicked the right ones. I always worry I'm going to click on the wrong one. But yes, there we go. Facebook is in. YouTube is in. Twitter, Twitch. We got a little bit of everything. So thank you guys for joining us on this evening's episode of Building the Broncos. I am Carl Dumler, and Eric has once again stepped in as Nick is in that still process of moving and trying to get everything settled that way. So hopefully soon he'll be back. But for right now, continue to get the joy of getting to talk Eric and some Bronco football. Eric, how's your evening going?
It's going good. Just gotta enjoy a day. We had a little bit of an easier day with schoolwork for with the kiddo as we homeschooler, and just kind of took a break for it and just kind of relax for the day, which was much needed after a rough day yesterday. I had to push our car after it stalled and wouldn't start, so I had to push our car for a little bit and then have to figure out getting it towed. But we're here to talk about the Broncos, and it's an interesting conversation, especially whenever we get around to talking about Bo Nix. But I think it's going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah. I think you might find we're a little more positive than PFF was for sure. And talking about positive, hopefully this brightens your day after your car incident there with Michael Ronquillo coming in with a $50 super saying, "Good evening, Carl and Eric on Building the Broncos. Go, Bo Broncos. Go, Michael." Honestly, like you just made my day with this. Really, really appreciate the support in so many different ways. Not just this, but I mean, you reach out after the shows telling us, "Hey, great job." We know how much you support the Mile High Huddle, just fan base in general. So thank you again, Michael, for this incredible donation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. And on top of the super chat, it's the memberships that you've dished out over the weeks, and it's every single show you're coming in and either donating is doing super chats or gifting memberships. And we cannot thank you enough for all your constant support every single week, and sometimes twice a week when we do the morning shows. We are
Yeah,
so appreciative of you, Michael. Thank you so much.
right. Of course, we got David Youngkin also coming in. These were before the show started, so we appreciate that, guys. That even beforehand, the support you guys give, it's phenomenal, especially after like a loss. I know we're down, but you guys help bring it all back up. So we got David Youngkin coming in with the 999 super saying, "Some fans think I hate the Broncos. That is far from the truth. This team has been so inconsistent since we won the Super Bowl that you can't pinpoint one thing that is wrong with this team." Yeah, David, I don't view that as you hating on the Broncos. I view it as incredible passion where you've seen the best. All, if you are over, what is it now, like 11 years old, you've seen the best. You've seen a Super Bowl team and what it takes. For me, I'm 39, so I've gotten the blessing of getting to see all three Super Bowl wins for the Broncos, and I've seen what it takes. I've seen when we have a top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and can really be that true dominant team. And I think this is one of those teams where you look at it and you go, I think there's enough talent to be among the best in the NFL. But both games they've lost have been against 3-0 teams now, and games that really the Broncos had control, should have won. It's more the Broncos lost the game than the other team won it. The Colts game, I think you have a little bit of an argument because their offense was really moving the ball well. But even there, the Broncos had to make like 3 or 4 mistakes in the fourth quarter just to give the Colts even an opportunity to win that game. And then this last one, I mean, I'll talk better about Bo later on, but there are about 3 or 4 throws in this game that take this from being a 14-point or more victory for the Broncos, dominating on the road against a divisional opponent and making the league take notice and go, "Oh crap, Broncos really are here." But you miss those throws, and now all of a sudden, well, now you're 1-2, getting into not quite panic mode yet, but you got to start getting a little nervous about not only the division but making the playoffs. So, like I said, those little things, that's what separates a championship team from middle of the road kind of team. And the Broncos right now are making way too many mistakes for the talent of this team.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes to show a lot about the talent of this team, as you were saying, with the amount of mistakes that they made, the amount of times that they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they're still in it. They're still last second field goals is what's causing them to lose those games. And we heard about it a lot at the end of this last one. And, even after the loss of the Colts, you got to finish games. You got to finish games. 3 of the final 4 drives against the Chargers, they were 3 and outs. Against the Colts, their 3 final drives, 19 plays, 83 yards. Those aren't good enough. You have to figure out ways to close out. You got to figure out ways to cut back on the penalties in key moments, as happened in both games. You got to cut back on, missed tackles. The amount of leaked yardage in this one. This was a big thing Nick highlighted yesterday morning. Missed tackles were crazy against the Chargers, and not just in sheer number of them, but how they came across. On that one big Quentin Johnston play where Surtain has him wrapped him up and then shoves him away like he thinks the whistle's blown, and you have Singleton running in who just doesn't wrap up and just shoulder checks him, and then you end up taking that what would have been like a 10 or 11 yard gain, and it's now 40 yards. You just can't have that. So this is a very talented team that 1 and 2 doesn't show. And there's that saying that you are what your record says you are, and I've always disagreed with that to an extent, because this is a far better team that is 0-2 against 3-0 teams. They have to figure out a way to close out, but there is so much talent on here that if they can do those, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could run the table to close out the season. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, because when you look at the rest of their schedule, some of the tough teams that we had in the preseason or prior to the season are inconsistent themselves. The Eagles haven't been the most consistent team. The Commanders aren't the most consistent team. The Chiefs are a very questionable team with some very glaring weaknesses. The Texans look like a very bad offense with a defense that's very inconsistent. So there are still plenty of games left. It's 3 games in, and it feels weird for me to be the overly positive one, but there is still a lot with this team to be really positive about.
Yeah, the mistakes, like I said, is more the Broncos losing games than the other team winning. So
yeah,
we'll see how that plays out as the season goes on. Hopefully they can have that, I don't know, team meeting or something where they begin to sit down and say, hey, we've got to clean this stuff up, whatever it may take. But I want to get some of these other comments coming in. We got Benjamin Flores saying, hola, peeps. Can't stand the bald dude from PFF. Always ragging on the Broncos. We do need to step it up if we want to shut them up, though. Go Broncos, and thank you for all you guys do. Thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate that. And yeah, there's always going to be those people in media that sometimes you got to question, do they even watch the games before they begin to speak? And like I said, some people, they only watch the stats. Maybe they only look at the record and go, well, they're 1-2. They must be a team that sucks. No, they've just played a couple really good teams and, been on the road in those games too. I mean, that's another part of the puzzle there. It's hard to win on the road in the NFL. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. We got a few more comments coming in. We got Greg Smith saying, good evening, Broncos country, Denver Broncos for life. Good to see you, Greg. Glad you're in here. And let's see. We got, of course, I gotta give a shout out to my man, Paul, saying, Carl and Eric, happy Tuesday. Good to see you, Paul. Always appreciate you coming in and being a huge support. And I know you reach out on Twitter all the time, just asking how the family's doing, all that kind of stuff. So again, appreciate just the community that we're able to build here. And we got Roy Osborne saying, hey there, Eric. I want to hear your opinion. Here it goes. Stats-wise, ranking-wise, I don't think they match up to what the optics say, meaning good individual performances, but not all that great team-wise.
So one of the reasons why I started doing my grades is because you often get guys overlooked in a bad team performance who actually played well. And this is one thing that has been, as I've been doing my grades to start this season, especially the last 2, one thing has been very clear. And it's one thing that I've always known. It only takes one guy to turn a great play into a terrible play, whether that is, a fumble on offense or a missed tackle on defense. A great play can quickly turn into a bad play by one player. And there is a lot of cases this year where the Broncos, either offensive or defensive, where they're setting themselves up to have a really good play, and they just come a little bit short because one player can't hold up, whether it be Adam Trotman blocking or, Patrick Surtain trying to make a tackle, or Alex Singleton trying to make a tackle. And I believe it was the big Jonathan Taylor run against the Colts. Alex Singleton had him lined up right at the line of scrimmage and just lowered his head, lunged into the tackle, and Taylor just sidestepped him. One bad play from one player can turn a great play for a great play into a bad play. And so I think that this is a team that they need to figure that out. I think they're having a lot of good individual performances, as you're getting at here, but they just don't have that cohesion as a unit consistently enough to where they can't get themselves killed, for lack of a better way to put it, by one bad play from one player. And that is something that great teams, I mean, when you look at, I brought up the Philadelphia Eagles last year before with a lot of panic after the Colts, how they went 2-2 in the first 4 games and ended up going 14-3 to close the season and winning the Super Bowl. Well, one of the things that they were able to do last year was they're able to find that cohesion where, some issues in the start of the season, one player making one big mistake leading to negative things for whatever side of their ball is that they're playing on. And they're able to not necessarily erase that, but help cover for it. So that is a big thing, as if the Broncos want to turn it around, they got to just get more of that cohesion and be more of a team instead of just a bunch of individuals out there, playing football.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a name there, Troutman. I'm guessing that there's nobody who feels worse about this game than him, because, I mean, there are just so many plays where even pre-snap, he had a couple pre-snap penalties there. The one where he lined up offsides on offense. I kind of forgot you could do that. I've heard of, not being in the right formation, that kind of stuff, and it erased a really big play. I mean, I think that was about a 20-yard. I think it was kind of like a shuffle pass to the side there to Harvey, if I remember right. And I was like, oh, there we go. And then nope, here comes the penalty flag because he's 5 inches too far forward. And that's just a discipline thing. Pre-snap penalties are all just discipline.
Yeah.
Working on, hey, I'm going to know the snap count. I'm going to know exactly where I'm supposed to be lined up, all those kind of things. But we got David coming in. Papa Bear saying, good evening, Broncos country, #11-6. Good to see you, David, and appreciate you coming in with the support. And just like I said, all of you guys coming in here talking, even after a loss. Like I said, I think we're going to be a lot more positive about this team, because the nice thing is it's not a lack of talent.
No.
Why the Broncos have lost. If you look at some of these teams and you're going, oh, crap, that's going to be a long season. Tennessee Titans. If you're a Titans fan, I'm sorry. It's going to be a long season for you. The Giants, I'm sorry. It's going to be a long season for you. You just don't have the level of talent needed to really compete. Broncos just got to clean up some stupid penalties, get everybody on the same page. Bo Nix, clean up some of his footwork, where he's not doing these jump passes or running and trying to throw. Sometimes just set your feet when you've got a clean pocket and make an accurate throw. And all of a sudden it goes from missed throw to a touchdown. So we'll see how that plays out. But I did want to get to another great supporter for us here today, and that is Underdog Fantasy. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more.
That's right. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. So if you think you've got a bead on what Bo Nix or J.K. Dobbins or any other player is going to do, or what their stats are going to be in week 2, you can download Underdog and win yourself some money.
I have so much fun playing Underdog and winning money while playing football. Well, that's a touchdown, you guys. Download the app today and sign up with promo code MHuddle to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks and win money.
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
There we go. We got Shiloh coming in, and I agree. I think this is kind of where we're at right now for the day. He says, I've been missing from live streams for a bit, but hello, everyone. Go Broncos. Realistic positivity is the way. Yeah, like I said, there's plenty to look at and go, okay, this is good. Wide receivers running wide open on a few plays. Really, like I said, the difference between this game being like a 27 to 17 blowout win for the Broncos and what it ended up being is just a few inches shorter of a pass on a couple, like about 2 or 3 passes there. So I don't think they're that far off. Get some timing down. Nix calmed down a little bit. I think he's really amped up this year. Mm-hmm. I really think he's just not having as much fun as he did last year. And I think there's a lot of pressure put on him if he's got to go out there and be successful. And we'll talk about that more as we get going. But we got Paul saying dinosaurs roamed the earth when I was born. Good to see you here, Paul, and appreciate the support no matter the age. So, all right, we got Phil coming in as well. Some stars saying, good evening, Carl, Eric, and Deacon Scott. What are we going to do with Singleton? Something has to change. Could Walker, Reed, or Robinson step up? Hashtag Buckham, hashtag MHH for life. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in our group chat. Our group chat for a while, I mean, just to give you a little behind the scenes, was pretty much like Singleton's number one fan. Like each of us had a different number of which fan we were of Singleton. More as a like we're mocking him and nothing. I mean, nothing against Singleton, but like I said, when Greenlaw comes back, really the linebacker that should be benched is not Sternad. It should be Singleton. Yep. He's been bad in coverage. He's been bad against the run. He has been terrible as a tackler. Like I said, he's just every time he's going for a big hit, he doesn't wrap up. He's just trying to knock somebody over. There was another play against the Chargers that I was watching, and like he just kind of hit the guy, and the guy bounced back about 2 yards, and then he just kept going. And I'm just for a guy that gets a lot of tackles, I'm like, how are you this bad of a tackler? You really could lead the NFL in tackling if you actually wrapped up every single time. You could be a great run stuffing linebacker at the very least. Now, coverage-wise, I don't think he's ever going to be there. But you're right. Something does need to change. I just don't know that they're going to. You know, he's been a team captain. He's getting paid decent money. Money does talk in the NFL. It's going to be hard to bench somebody that's making, what, $7 to $9 million this year for an undrafted rookie coming in, playing, whoever that might be, or like I said, moving Sternad over. I think that would be what's best. I just have a hard time seeing him do it.
Yeah, I mean, he has been a liability. And earlier when I was talking about one bad play from one player, so often that one player on the defense has been Singleton. He looks like his legs are shot. He wasn't the rangiest guy ever at the linebacker position, but he looks just even more sluggish, and he looks more hesitant to secure tackles. There were 3 or 4 times against the Chargers where he was Naruto running. And if you're not familiar with that, that is where your hands are like this behind your back, and he's just leaning in with his shoulder and hitting them, and they just bounce off of that. That's not how you're going to bring down a back like Najee Harris or Omarion Hampton or Jonathan Taylor, who he did that a couple times against him. So there's something off with him. And before he got hurt, when he was racking up tackles, he was still always at or near the top for missed tackles as well. It's always been so inconsistent. And it's so frustrating to watch. So when he's unable to do a good job of stacking blockers, which is what his main role is right now, play downhill, stack blockers, work outside, plug rushing lanes and rush the quarterback. That's his main jobs. Coverage, not so much, but he's been targeted in coverage because he's so bad in it. Sternad's been good, I would say. He hasn't been great. He's been good. And it's been good enough where you don't want to take him off the field when you see Singleton, because what Sternad does best and what he's doing the best at is exactly what they're asking Singleton to do. Neither one of them are that cover linebacker that Drake Greenlaw is. So when Greenlaw comes back, it is very easy to sit there and say, hey, we're going to bench Singleton and move Sternad over, who last year, that's what role Sternad was playing. He was playing that Singleton role. And while he wasn't great at it, he did all right for the most part until later in the season. And a lot of the issues at the linebacker position fall more on Cody Barton because he wasn't good in coverage to help that out. And if you don't want to wait until Greenlaw comes back, then you still move Sternad over and you insert Karine Reed, who they brought in and kept him on the 53-man roster because of his coverage ability and because of his play on special teams, both of which are significantly better than Lavelle Bailey, which is why they made that change. That's what Sean Payton talked about. And so if you want to bring in Lavelle Bailey, well, first of all, you have to sign him up off the practice squad, which you could do. You have an open roster spot unless they filled it today and I missed it, with Greenlaw going to injured reserve. And then you can do Sternad and Bailey, because Bailey can do that role somewhat. But I don't know if you're going to get much of a difference of play from Bailey and Singleton. So you just got to do something. You can't keep trotting Singleton out there when he's this big of a liability for this defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to see teams are targeting him every single play. We're going to run at you. We're going to throw at you. And we're going to make the team have to show that they're willing to bench you. I don't know if they're willing to do that. I mean, maybe they'll surprise me. I've been surprised in the past by some of the moves that Sean Payton has made that have been unpopular to others, but he's like, nope, this is what's best for the team. You know, I had somebody earlier this week, or I think it was earlier today, actually, message something about how they still hate the Justin Simmons getting cut. I'm like, well, the rest of the league has shown you what they think of Justin Simmons right now. He's still not on a roster. Okay. It's not that he wasn't a good player for a long time with the Broncos. It's just price tag and age have become a concern for him at this point in his career. And so now talking about some young guys, though, we got young Tyrone saying they need to get Harvey on the field and Pat Bryant. Yeah, obviously this was a game that Harvey didn't get a whole lot of run. I will say Pat Bryant, I think he was kind of the lead blocker on the J.K. Dobbins touchdown. All of a sudden I saw 13 just plowing a guy to the side, and I was like, oh, there we go. That's Pat Bryant. And so, yeah, I hope as the season goes on, these two guys can get a lot more run on the field. And it's just hard right now. Your offense is already inconsistent. Can you really trust a rookie to go out there and do what you need him to do? You know, Harvey, he's been, other than his one big run, he hasn't done a whole lot. He's missed some cut lanes. He's been hesitant in the backfield because I don't think he's seeing the field very good. And so it's going to take a little bit of time before they can really trust him. And J.K. Dobbins, one, stop asking him to run the outside zone plays. He can't do it. And the offensive line is struggling as well. That's the other big thing, is they're not blocking well to set those up anyway. So especially against a team like the Chargers, who are very good against the run, who have some big boys that can go out there and win, like Tart, who is destroying the offensive line left and right. And then you've got safeties that are just flying down the field to go make plays. That play is not going to work against them. Maybe against the Bengals, you can do a lot more of that kind of stuff and get away with it. We'll have to see this week. I hope so. They just got demolished. I can't see them feeling very good about their team right now either. So we'll see how that all plays out. But the rookies will get there. I will say, rookie of the year so far for the Broncos, Jeremy Crawshaw. Got to give the guy. I mean, I was nervous that this guy was going to cost us a game, and maybe he will somewhere down the road. But of all the rookies, he has made the biggest impact in a positive way for the Broncos so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math here, because obviously Caleb Boner, he's on the practice squad. Savion Jones and Q Robinson have both been inactive. And the first three picks, that's Barron, Harvey, and Bryant, they have played a total of 141 total snaps between the three of them. 88 for the two on offense. Like, they're not seeing the field, and they're not seeing the field a lot. And one of the things is, when Bryant has been out there on the field, he has consistently done well.
Mhm.
And when you have somebody like, I understand that Sean Payton doesn't really trust rookies a whole lot, but at some point you got to. Like, they threw in, the outside zone stuff, which it's kind of ticky-tacky because they had outside zone concepts last year, and they were just based off of their inside zone, not true, not the, 49ers type outside zone stuff, the true
Right.
stretches those are what they added. And you do that because of Harvey, because of he has that speed and that vision that you want to get outside, find that cutback lane and go. But they haven't been doing that with him. They've been doing it with J.K. Dobbins, which is questionable. Dobbins just doesn't have the speed or the burst for it.
Yeah.
And so it raises the question of the usage, which I raised up on, after the game. And I was like, one of my points was you got to stop using the outside zone or wide zone as the better way to put it.
Right.
With J.K. Dobbins. And then today I had an article that got published that broke into that, dug into that a little bit more. And he's had seven runs of 10 yards or more this season. Only one of them was an outside run. And, well, let me phrase that. Two of them were technically outside runs, outside the tackle box, but one of them was that one that was actually a pass that just happened to go backwards that marked it down as a run.
Right.
So it wasn't a designed running play. So of the 6 actually designed, only one of them in between the tackles. He is a guy that you want to get going north and south. And Harvey is that guy that you can do a little bit of that east and west stuff with and get cutting up field. The only one for Dobbins that wasn't off tackle, where it was a variation of a wham play with Powers and Bowles doing an excellent job on the left side of the line to create that running lane where Dobbins was able to keep it tight off the outside shoulder of the left tackle and go get to the sideline and pick up the 41 yards on that run. So it's questionable when it comes to Sean Payton. And yesterday morning, I defended him in terms of the play calling, but the usage of players that used to be a strong suit of him, but it's been very questionable this season. And, with Evan Ingram out, now is a great time to see more Pat Bryant. One of the best things he was doing throughout the preseason was those dig routes, what they're asking of Evan Ingram for the most part. And he is tough over the middle, and they're not using him that way. Instead, they're trying to get Troy Franklin on a dig route, which Bo Nix threw a poor pass to get, or Cortland Sutton, who he does well on dig routes, so nothing wrong with that. There was a couple times where Marvin Mims was running a dig route, and Marvin Mims is the last guy you want running dig routes. And two of them, Bo Nix just missed a open Marvin Mims. But that's beside the point. Is you got to use these guys properly and you got to get them involved. And that includes getting Savion Jones and Q Robinson out there on the field. The rookie class in general has been disappointing because when you're talking about best rookie and you're talking about the punter, obviously that's a disappointing class. It comes down to they're not being used.
Yeah, for sure. But we got Cody W coming in with the $5 super saying, I've heard way too many people talking crap on Moss. He's playing on the other side of one of the best there is. He'd be a starter for just about any team. Yeah, I think Moss has been pretty good this year. The Colts game, it was kind of a weird one because there wasn't a whole lot of yards after catch other than at the tight end position and running back position. The wide receivers, they were just making ridiculous catches with guys right there. And I think of the touchdown against the Chargers that Moss was right. I mean, one, he covered forever on Keenan Allen. And two, I mean, he was inches away from being able to knock down that touchdown. I mean, his hand was right there. I don't know how it slipped past and went into Keenan Allen's hands. Sometimes great coverage is beaten by a great throw and a great catch. There's just not much you can do about that. And so I agree. I think Moss is playing pretty well so far this year. I think, if anything, I've been probably more disappointed in Surtain. Some teams have really figured out more and more how to kind of go after him with slant patterns, in routes, kind of those short things where it makes him change his direction quickly. If you're trying to go over the top, you're not going to beat him. He's 6'2". He can jump out of the gym, got long arms. That's not happening. But if you get some of these shorter things going against him, you can at least get a little bit of success. He's going to be right there to make the tackle, but you can pick up 5 to 7 yards on those kind of plays against him. And so, yeah, Moss, I think he's been fine. not too worried about him. And I wanted to get just caught up on making sure I'm not missing any super chats or anything, because I did want to get to our subject, because I don't want to skip being able to talk about Bo Nix, because I know PFF pretty much thinks that he's the worst thing ever in the NFL right now. And I'm not saying that he's been great, but he's definitely not been the worst quarterback in football. When we got guys that are throwing 4 interceptions a game, and you're trying to tell me that Bo Nix is worse than that, yeah, that's not true.
Yeah, before we get into that, I want to touch on this from the super chat with talking about Moss. Moss has been really good for the Broncos. He's getting targeted a lot, and the touchdown he gave against the Chargers was probably he could not have covered that any better. Like, it was just the front runner for MVP right now, Justin Herbert, making a tremendous play to sidestep Zach Allen, and then making a even better throw. And Riley Moss has 2 of the 4 best games for Broncos corners this season. The Titans was the best game from a Broncos corner this game in terms of coverage EPA, just to be clear, coverage EPA. And the Chargers is the 4th. Like, he was targeted 11 times against the Chargers, allowed 4 catches, 1 more than Surtain, and 13 more yards more than Surtain. He's done really well. And it's very easy to sit there and talk about him being bad just because it's so prevalent. But the biggest issue with the secondary is Patrick Surtain. It's almost like he is expecting the fact that he's the reigning defensive player of the year. It's almost like he's expecting that to keep quarterbacks from throwing his way. So when watching him back, watching the All-22, watching him with his coverage, he seems to be playing his coverage a little bit lighter. Like, he's not quite as tight. He's giving a little bit more room, almost like he's trying to bait a throw to jump and, going for the big plays a little bit, or just not expecting them to target him because I'm Patrick Surtain. I'm the reigning defensive player of the year. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's what it looks like. And he has been awful through the last 2 games. So when people talk about Riley Moss being awful, well, Moss has been significantly better than Patrick Surtain. And Jaquan McMillan has been the best corner of the 3. Like, it's tough. Moss has been really good, and I'm not exactly sure why there's so much hate for him outside of, the couple big plays he's given up over the last 2 weeks, and that just sitting on fans' memory.
Yeah, well, and I think, one, you lose 2 games like this, and you're looking for anybody to put the blame on, and you can't put it on the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to look at Surtain and go, well, what's wrong with him? And so, like I said, Moss, unfortunately, it's kind of like Bo Nix this last game. He could do well on everything, but then he misses those 3 big throws, and that's all anybody's going to remember about this game. Those were the plays that destroyed this game, and rightfully so. I mean, sometimes, those throws are what make or break a game for sure. But like I said, in the coverage for the touchdown, what else can you ask the guy to do? He had to cover longer than usual because the quarterback was able to evade pressure. He was covering one of the better route runners in football, and he was right there. I mean, you couldn't have thrown it anywhere else for it to be a catch without Moss being able to knock it down or to be an overthrow. And it was just a great throw. I mean, Justin Herbert he's on a heater right now. Like I said, he's truly in the MVP discussion. It's 3 guys, and that's it. And even there, Lamar, he's playing well, but his team's not. So it might be like a 2-man race really between him and Josh Allen at this point, depending on if the Ravens can get things going at any time here. So, all right, I did want to get to our subject here. So PFF, as the title says, they've not liked Bo Nix. They have viewed him as really one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football right now. And PFF, we've talked about this before. They get an idea of a player, before they ever come into the league, and everything is going to go through that filter of, we really like this guy, so everything that even looks remotely close to a really good play, we're going to give him a good grade. We hate this player. If anything looks even average, we're going to give him a bad grade. And Bo Nix, I mean, they were probably even lower on him than some than most probably heading into the draft. They had second, third, fourth round grade on him, depending which one of them that you talk to. And, they viewed the Broncos as the laughing stock after the draft, going, I can't believe they took this guy. And now I'm kind of looking at going, of the 6 quarterbacks drafted, you could make the argument, because Jaden Daniels hurt again, the second year that he's been hurt and missed games. JJ McCarthy hurt again, has only played 1 good quarter of football. Caleb Williams has not been good. He's had some wow moments, which we knew he could have in the NFL, but he's not been consistent. Let's see, who am I missing? Penix got benched this week for bad play. So I'm looking at Drake May. He has not been good. That's the other one. Sorry, I knew I was missing one. He's been terrible. Everybody had the Patriots as that dark horse playoff team. Drake May's been terrible. So I think you could almost make the argument of the top 6 that were drafted, it's between Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix of who's been the most valuable to their team so far.
And are you familiar with the goofy meme? I'll friggin' do it again to keep it PG. The angry goofy meme. It's almost like PFF has they embody that when it comes to Bo Nix. I ranked him bad, and watch me, I'll friggin' do it again. Bo Nix has been bad. I don't think that's debatable. And if you want to, I have plenty of stats to back it up. And you can always turn on the tape. It's been bad. Has it been the worst in the NFL? No. It has probably been he has definitely been a bottom 10 quarterback. But when I say that, he has been 8, 9, 10. Not bottom 5, not bottom 3, not the worst. And you mentioned the one guy who I think has been the worst. And I went back and I watched all of his reps yesterday or Sunday night. I can't remember which. JJ McCarthy has been awful. He had 1 good quarter, not a great quarter, good quarter, and then has just been terrible. His play has been that of a backup caliber, that quarterback that is coming in for an injury because out of necessity, and not a guy that you really want to roll with. It is a very questionable ranking for it, but Pro Football Focus, part of what makes them, gets the money is they got to get clicks on their articles. They got to generate that. And ranking certain players different ways, it does it. And putting Bo Nix last, it gets them talked about. It gets them it keeps them in the cycle, the news cycle, and they always get the money for it from whenever they're mentioned on live, as well as their deal with the NFL. So it's very questionable. And to say that he's been the worst, he's been bad. That's undeniable, but he has not been the worst.
Yeah. He's made plenty of decent throws so far.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like there's been a couple things. He is really trying to do too much. You go back and watch the games. I know people have been getting after the play calling at times. There's a lot of plays where he is audibling to something else. So it's kind of hard to put that on Sean Payton when Bo Nix is getting up there going, nope, we're going to run this instead.
Yeah.
I know the Titans game, people are really getting after Bo Nix. But you go back, there's probably over 50% of the snaps where, at least in the first half, where he is changing the play at the line of scrimmage. So I have no doubt that Sean Payton wanted to run the football. I'm guessing Bo Nix was audibling to a pass play because it was set up to stop a run play. And there's just times where, as a quarterback, you got to realize, even if the defense is set up to stop the run, you still run it.
Yeah.
You still go out there and try to establish that and allow your offense to get at least a little bit of rhythm, get your offensive linemen actually hitting and trying to drive people, not having to step backwards every single time. And so I think there's that. I think because he's trying to do too much, he's letting some of his fundamentals go out the window, where that's where you're seeing a lot of the accuracy issues, where you're going, where did this come from? Because last year he was pretty accurate. And now all of a sudden he's missing throws that he was making last year. Even the J.K. Dobbins would end up being a touchdown. It's like, that's an easy throw. I mean, I know it ended up being a run play, but he made it so much harder by the fact that like it was a low throw. He had to go down, make the play. And, I think it was can't remember which overthrow it was. I guess, I mean, most of them were to Mims anyway, so I can just say that. But there's one, I think they were only rushing 2 guys. And wide open guy, he starts stepping up in the pocket, and instead of setting his feet, he does like this jump pass down the field, like almost runs into the pressure. And I'm just going, like, these are those little details that you go back and watch that I'm sure he's watched it and going, what was I doing? This is stupid. And he's had really good pass blocking. I know I think some people don't quite understand. It's never going to be completely perfect. You're never going to have a time where a quarterback has everybody 5 yards away from them. That's going to be 2 plays a year where the offensive line is blocking that well. You're always going to have defenders around you, but you can still plant your feet. You can still get your base below you and go make a good throw. And so it's those little things, like I said, that could take him from being a bottom 10 quarterback to starting to knock on the door for top 10. And that's what the Broncos need this year if they're really going to compete for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And it's not saying that it's all Bo Nix's fault. Just to be clear here, we're just talking about Bo Nix specifically because of the Pro Football Focus ranking. Right. And the offensive line, they've had their bad moments. Quinn Miners has been the second worst offensive lineman for the Broncos this season, something nobody would have thought coming. Mike McGlinchey's been bad for them. It's not ideal when Ben Powers, the one who's pretty universally hated by Broncos fans, has been far and away the second best offensive lineman for the Broncos. Garrett Bowles has been the best.
Right.
And that's not ideal. But Bo Nix here, talking about pressure, Bo Nix has only been pressured 20 times in 3 games. That's actually a really good mark for it. Behind him, at 21 pressures, you have Jake Browning, who has basically played 1.5 games, and then JJ McCarthy. And Bo Nix has brought on 3 pressures by himself, which means that that it was judged that he is the reason for the pressure getting on him. So 17 pressures on the offensive line. They lead the NFL in pass block efficiency as a unit. They have multiple guys in pass block win rate that are top 5. And I believe it's Bowles and Powers. And I think that McGlinchey is just outside the top 10. The offensive line's done well. And the one play that you were talking about where they rushed 2, I'm pretty sure that was the flea flicker because Lance and I were talking about that and going back and forth yesterday. And there was some pressure. Mike McGlinchey gives it up, and there was a need to climb in the pocket, but he keeps climbing and climbing and climbing until the point where he's right behind Luke Wattenberg, who's blocking one of the 2 rushers, and he has to jump to make this throw instead of stopping, resetting, and going. And it's plays like that. And there's a couple other examples there as well. It's almost like he doesn't have that internal awareness that we saw last year of pressure, of being able to not necessarily reset, but when to escape, where pressure is coming from. Because last year, resetting his feet was a big issue. So it's almost like that internal awareness just isn't there this year. And he's just feeling more pressure than he needs to, and is trying to, do too much, as you said, instead of just taking a moment, resetting, and dropping. Maybe he still overthrows Mims if he resets his feet. But guess what? I would rather you overthrow on when you reset your feet than do a weird jump pass where you land on the back of your offensive lineman and overthrow that way. Right. It's just not going to work. And then adding to that is weird, in the Titans game, he was doing all these different weird arm angles, not necessary. Colts game, he was a little bit cleaner with his footwork, but it just all went out the window against the Chargers. And there was I'm pretty sure it was a 10-yard curl that he was throwing to, I believe it was Cortland Sutton. I might be mistaken on this. And he just throws it way outside of the grasp, nowhere near it. And on that, last thing before I pass this back off to you, the most accurate quarterbacks by catchable throw rate, these are passes that are within the catch radius of it, Bo Nix is the worst. In CPOE, which is or in catch rate over expected, the amount of catches that are expected to be made. This is judging based off of where the ball is being placed, where receivers are. Bo Nix is the 7th worst. his placement has been terrible so far this season, and it all comes from the issues with his footwork. You got to keep up that footwork, and you got to be clean and consistent with that footwork. That really does help your accuracy.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you on that. So I do expect as the season goes on, Bo will clean some of this stuff up. We saw it early in the season last year where he was just a little jumpy. Beginning of the season, wasn't fully seeing the field like you would hope. He and Sean Payton were not quite on the same page. He and the receivers were not on quite the same page. And then there in the middle of the season, all of a sudden everything really started clicking for him. And we saw him go on a pretty historic run for a rookie at that point. So I do think that that's going to be a real possibility to happen. They got an easier matchup this week against the Bengals, now with Browning as their quarterback. Hopefully he does what he did last week and just keeps turning the ball over. And I mean, he's done that the last actually 2 weeks where he's gone rogue. I don't know what's going on. He's just going crazy. And he's playing like there is no tomorrow at this point. So, but we do have Cody W coming back in again saying when offense goes 3 and out multiple times, defense has no rest. I would think something going to open. How long was defense on the field compared to the offense? I don't have those stats right in front of me right now. I mean, you're right. You got to do better of getting consistent drives going. This was a problem last year where seemed like it was either a really big play down the field, touchdown, or it was a 3 and out by the offense. And that was something that we've been harping on that they've got to be better at this year. And this is where you really miss Evan Ingram because he's supposed to be that guy that picks up the big third down play for you. And like you said earlier, why not get Pat Bryant in there? Because he can work the middle of the field. He can make those tough catches on 3rd and 5. And I think the other big thing there, it's not only getting the third down pickup. Broncos are not doing great on first down. It's been very hit and miss. And so that's why they've had a lot of 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 20 kind of plays because they're just not getting anything done on first down. And then it feels like they almost hit the panic button of, oh, crap, we're at 2nd and 10. Okay, now we got to try to do something crazy. And now we're at 3rd and 10, and we're pretty much done at that point. So plenty of things that they can clean up with some of that. Getting the running game going a little bit more obviously would be a big help. Getting, as Paul says, Bo needs a legit tight end to help him. Yeah, Troutman's not getting it done. Nate Atkins being back maybe helps a little bit. But we'll have to, he kind of got eased into it. I think he only had 18 snaps in this last game. So you'll see that increase as the season goes on. And hopefully Ingram is back. And hopefully he can be the impact player that they brought him in to be. He was supposed to be a really big part of this offense, probably the number 2 targeted guy, only behind Cortland Sutton. And obviously that has not happened yet. So hopefully this week, get him back. Get him some easy targets. I think you really got to almost try to get him involved in the first quarter and say, hey, this is a play that's going to him. Whether it's a screen pass, whether it's a quick, slant pattern, whatever it may be, where it's designed to go to Evan Ingram and make teams have to respect this is a guy that's on the field that's going to make a play.
Yeah, and in the case of Bryant stepping up for it, I mean, you got to figure something out when Ingram's not out there. And it's not the tight end positions. Adam Troutman, he's not a receiving tight end outside of a safety outlet. Lucas Kroll, I think it's past time that, we can, send him to the farm upstate, And then Nate Atkins, he is the better blocker of the bunch, but he's like Troutman in the receiving aspect where he's not much better than a safety outlet. And he's kind of that hybrid guy. We saw him a lot. I mean, I think you're right. I think he played 18 snaps and like 10 to 11 of them were lining up as the fullback. And so you got to figure something out there, and there's not much out there, and you can't and the tight end room doesn't need to just be addressed for receiving ability. Obviously that needs to happen because you got to figure out a way to get it done, but you got to get the blocking. You talked about the inability to get those positive yards, to stay ahead of schedule as it's put on 1st and 2nd down, to keep yourself from being in 3rd and long situations. I cannot tell you how many plays over the first 3 games that I saw that it was the tight end blowing it. And that goes for Evan Ingram too. Evan Ingram is not a blocker. there was one play, I'm pretty sure it was against the Titans, where he runs into the back of Ben Powers trying to throw a block and falls on his butt. Like, you can't have that and expect it to go forward. And yes, there are more issues with the run game than just that. But I mean, there was the run where it was actually set up pretty well by the offensive line. Mike McGlinchey kind of lost, but there was still a lane available for, I'm pretty sure it was RJ Harvey on an outside toss. But Trotman gets beat off the snap and then gets called for holding. So no matter what Harvey did at that point, doesn't matter. And the guy that Trotman was holding still ended up making the play. Like, that is a triple whammy there of a bad play for the tight end. You got to figure something out. You got to keep yourself ahead of schedule. That can help ease up some of the pressure on Bo Nix. That was the goal for the Broncos, with trying to get a run game going, ease the pressure on Bo Nix. And there's a lot wrong with Bo Nix, and he is dictating a lot with the passing offense because he still is struggling with the true drop back passing game, with setting his feet. It's why he's got one of the highest rates of screen passes or screen dropbacks in the NFL right now. And without them, his stats are at the bottom or near the bottom. But anyways, you do that. You have to resort to that because of Bo Nix's issues, but also because you can't go away from that kind of stuff because you're using those screen games as an extension of the running game to try to pick up yards, to keep yourself ahead of schedule, because you can't get a run game going. And it's really starting to seem like the Broncos, and Sean Payton specifically, obviously, he's the one who's created the offense, has thrown too much on their plate. Take out the outside zone, the wide zone, whatever you want to call it. Stick to your inside zone. Stick to the gap stuff, the off tackle. You can still run. They did a lot of crack tosses last year that were effective. They did some off tackle runs last year that were effective. I can't remember what the author's name is, but there's a guy who goes through and breaks down the game offensive playbooks for everybody. And I have his book. I was reading through his book on the Broncos. There is a lot they can do that they're not doing this year because majority of their outside run game is all outside zone stuff. It's just a questionable thing of it. And it's one of those things where you got to pull what's not working and stop calling what's not working and stick with what is working.
For sure. Yeah. You can't keep messing around. You can't take unnecessary losses like this, where you should be the Broncos should be 3-0 right now. And you've let two big games get away from you. One in the division, one against a team that you could be competing for playoff position with. We'll have to see how that plays out at the end of the year. But no, like I said, I'm still feeling positive about this team. It's just frustrating when you watch them continue to shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. It's not just one play. It's multiple plays a game. It's Hufanga body slamming a guy when you don't have to do it.
And tripping. The tripping is more upsetting than the body slam.
Yeah. Yeah. Those things, you're just like, come on. Like, you've been in the league long enough. You know, this is not going to be allowed. And this is only hurting your team. You know, it's been a lot of selfish play is what I would say. Where last year, this was like one of the most unselfish teams. Like, there's very few players that cared about their individual recognition. This year, it just feels like a lot of guys really wanting to make the splash play, wanting, believing in themselves of it's all about me and what I can do. And like I said, even Surtain, there's been some things there where I'm like, what are you doing? You didn't do this before. And now it just looks like you're not even out here giving full effort. I mean, I'm sure he is. It just looks a little off from what we've seen before. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you guys all for coming in here tonight, especially wanted to give a shout out to David Yunkin, of course, Michael Ronquillo coming in as well, David McElrath with Papa Bear, Phil McLaughlin, Cody W coming in there a couple times for us. Thank you guys for being huge supporters, and everybody else as well. The likes on here, we're at least on our board, it shows 14. So got the Cortland Sutton number. I'm sure we can get it up there. There we go, 15. We can get it up there a little bit higher as the time goes on. But that's one of the best ways you guys can support us is by liking, sharing, subscribing, becoming a member. That's another great way for you guys to get some good information coming in about the Broncos, some behind the scenes stuff for us, and getting a little bit more opportunity just to hang out with us. Sometimes people don't mind looking at this ugly mug. So I appreciate that, everybody. And Eric, thank you for coming in once again, man, and doing another show with me. I always love getting to talk football with you, even though we do it every day, actually getting to do it kind of almost face to face. And here in a month, we will be face to face, less than a month for the meet and greet. Hopefully the Giants, who just benched Russell Wilson. Oh man, I love it. You know, he went to the Steelers and every Steeler fan was like, oh, you know what? It was all Sean Payton. You know, he just hated Russell Wilson. That's why he failed there. He'll come here and Mike Tomlin will love him and everything will go great. He leaves there. And all of a sudden, all Steelers fans are like, oh, man, this guy sucks. And then Giants are like, oh, you Broncos and Steelers fans, you don't know how good you got it. And he's 3 weeks into the season and he's already benched. So,
and I got to say, the timing can't be more perfect because Friday night, Lance was talking about how good Russell Wilson had been looking. And then he goes out. And so the timing is absolutely perfect for that. Man, on that real quick, did you see that 3-play sequence of Russell Wilson? It's like they're within like the 5-yard line and he throws it out of bounds twice and then like makes a really terrible pass on the second one or something, third on the second play or something like that. Like it was an awful sequence for him. And that right there is probably why he got benched.
Yeah. I know there's some kind of gif out there that it was like how Russell Wilson plays football. It's 4th and 5 and he throws it into the stands.
Yeah.
Pretty much instead of giving anybody a chance on it. But hey, last second coming in, we got J Ray saying, great talk, fellas. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the last minute support here, guys. And all of you just really do. It's been a great night talking some Bronco football. Hopefully we can get back to talking some winning football next Tuesday when we come back. And hopefully Bengals continue to go down this bad place of big turnovers left and right. And we could just have one of those games where by halftime, we're all getting to relax, kick back with whatever beverage you like to drink during games, and just getting to celebrate another great Bronco victory. So thank you guys. As Nick always likes to close these out with by saying, choose kindness and compassion and go Broncos.